and we're on, right? All right. A little early today, folks. That's what I usually do on Thursdays, so keeping it real time, real workout. The Training with Limitations series. Now today's shoulder day, which always presents interesting challenges and options for me with advancing osteoarthritis in both shoulders from all my previous years of outperforming my body and my previous years of steroid use and all those other things. So starting with general GPP, hopefully you guys are going to chime in and join in, and for the shoulder workout I'll show you a couple exercise variations as well. I'm just doing some scapular lifts and start warming up the shoulders. Joints are especially tight today, so. And then my usual GPP, start with reverse arm swings. Notice how slow I start. I don't start whipping it just to get through the warm-up. You take what your body gives you. So my shoulders are pretty precarious, so I start slow. And I like to do about 12 to 15. So let me know you're out there when you come on board. So nobody with us yet? Nobody at all. Early in the morning. Let me just check this. Let's see, we're on the right page. Oh, poor people. All right. Keep my warm up.
Yep, they're coming on. They're waking up.
Morning, everybody.
Hi, I love your shoulder day.
So I just I train a little earlier on Thursdays just to break up my week, and also because it's also when my housekeeper shows up, so I learned to train a little earlier, stay out of her way, and that just works to help me break up the week. So as I get going, you'll be able to ask me questions. So again, this is about training with limitations. It's not about hot bodies and all that stuff. Physique after 50. Now I'm doing the wide arm circles to the coronal plane, frontal plane. Just getting it going. If there's any questions or comments. So today's shoulder workout. Now remember, I'm racked with advancing osteoarthritis, and the workouts actually help me deal with it. They don't. Instead of focusing on what I can't do, I focus on what I can do. Osteopath says it's really, at this point, not going to negatively impact me to watch out for this exercise or that exercise. It's just a matter of pain tolerance. So I use pain as my ally in what I'm doing, and then it tells me about limiting my range of motion, how hard to go or not go, but I can still be consistent. And remember, the innervation training principle, consistency is more important than intensity. It's better to be able to show up every day than it is to bury yourself in a workout and then burn out and not show up. So very important stuff. So continuing my GPP, and then I'll do some GPP for lower body as I begin my shoulder workout. Now I've already been using biofeedback, which is obviously something you can't see, but I already know that I'm going to alter my first exercise of the day. I was planning on doing seated dumbbell shoulder press, but instead I'm going to use the functional trainer because it has far less joint trauma, and I'm going to do single arm shoulder press on there, and I'll show you what that looks like in a minute when I get going. So just some scapular lifts. Look how much higher I'm getting from when I first started. That's the benefit of a warm-up for physique after 50 folks out there. You don't want to just go into the gym. When I go to my commercial gym, I can't believe the members that are around my age who just walk into the gym, walk off a treadmill, and just pick up working weights. That just makes me feel ouch, because of how traumatic that is to the over 50 joints. No matter if it's legs or hips or shoulders, you gotta warm up. You gotta let the joints loosen up and let the muscles know what's coming. So a combination of GPP and physical rehearsal. So now usually I'm almost done the GPP. And again, I take as long as my muscles need, my joints need to tell me that I'm ready to go. If I have to do another round of GPP at my age, so be it. And then this typical reach with your palms, not your fingertips, to the ceiling. Come back. And then around the world. Beautiful. And then some tubing pull aparts. It's so freeing doing this one. All of a sudden, the pain in my shoulder joint just from doing this starts to dissipate. Feels great. So again, just a lot of GPP to get ready for the actual workout. And then a couple sets of physical rehearsal. And then some scapular lifts. So I'm warmed up. Any comments or questions before I get going?
No, all good. They're all here.
All right, folks. We're going to get into it. Now, I would usually start, because of my osteoarthritis, I would usually start with a warm-up set of a very light dumbbell or the functional trainer anyway. The difference today is because I'm feeling a lot of stiffness in osteoarthritis today. You can move in. Is that I'm going to stay with this exercise. So I would usually start with this anyway, but then I would go to dumbbell seated shoulder press. What I like about this, if you want to walk around me, is I like the gravitational pull of the functional trainer, and it allows me way more range of motion for shoulders without pain. So I used pain as my ally, and I knew right away that I would be going with this workout today. So I'll do 15 or 20 here. And nice. I can get that full range of motion that I like. And then come down here, over to the left side. So I step away, bring it back. As you can see, I can get a nice full range of motion for shoulder function. And I set the functional trainer a little bit off to the side. So as I press, I'm pressing toward the midline of my head. And that also offsets shoulder strain, joint strain. And that just feels so good. So I would do that anyway as a set before I would do seated shoulder press. But because of my biofeedback and pain today, I'm staying with these as my first exercise. So now, of course, I'll just do my hip swings. So physique after 50, and this is just all about learning how to train with limitations. When you focus on what you can do rather than all the things you can't do, then a lot of possibilities open up, and you can tweak exercises you think you can no longer do and actually do them. So this allowed me to discover this shoulder exercise for shoulder press I probably wouldn't have discovered if it wasn't for my osteoarthritis. So that's pretty good. And it's effective to do your GPP for lower body between sets of your first exercise of upper body because it keeps metabolism going. Rather than doing a set and you're not even tired yet and you just sit down then you just reinforce laziness and rest, workout laziness, not general laziness, whereas this keeps your body physically engaged and helps continue the warm-up for performance. So very, very important stuff that goes so unnoticed. Almost everybody that comes to visit me in person to work out, one of the things 90% of them do is rush through their warm-ups, like they're trying to get it over with. They're whipping their arms around. It's like, no, the GPP is to engage and invite your body to start to work.
Ola wants to know what's GPP.
GPP means general preparation phase. So if you go to all the previous workouts of this week, you'll see GPP for lower body, GPP for upper body, depending on what I'm doing. And then GPP transitions into physical rehearsal, which is what I'm doing now. Warm-up sets, in other words, for the actual workouts. Shoulder press, boom, start position. Because of the angle I set it at, as I press toward the top of my head, there's less perpendicular gravitational forces directly on the joint, which is great. Don't want to interrupt my pace. Come over here now each time.
Okay.
Up. So with that, I get a nice full range of motion. And then I continue my GPP with my leg swings. Just 1 second. Notice I get right up on my toe on the hip swings. And that opens up my hips. The circumduction that I do after the leg swings opens up the hips. You do that consistently enough, especially over 50, you start opening up all that tightness, and you get less referral pain. So it's even good if you have lower back issues, hip issues, knee issues, blah, blah, blah. So next work set. Up, up, up. What I like about the functional press is it's that continuous tension, because as I press up, it wants to pull me back down, which is great for keeping continuous tension on the muscle. So now I just keep going with my GPP for lower body. Start with my front reach lunge. Any questions or comments?
All good.
Take what your body gives you. So as you can see, I can reach lower and lower each rep as my body opens up. And that's what I'm looking for. Training with physical limitations. That's what all this is about. And then you get ready for the next set. Just shoot me from various angles.
Yep.
Up, 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 up. That's a work set. Whew. Even with my spine issues, low back issues, I can do these without a whole lot of lower lumbar strain or spinal compression. But if I was doing a barbell military press, standing, way too much spinal compression. So now lateral reach lunge, GPP. Again, no hurry. Just reaching it out. I did front, now I'll do side, then I'll do rear. Any questions or comments? Feel free to comment or ask questions, folks. Let me know you're out there. And then tomorrow will be arm day to finish off the week. Show you some variations there as well. So I'm already showing you ways that I'm working around very advanced osteoarthritis. So it's not about what you can't do, it's about what you can find out you can do. All right, so very, very important stuff. Second work set. Up, 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 boom. That's when you know you're working. Can't fake that. Up, 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 up. When you have to rest between sides of single limb movements, that's when you know you're really hitting your work capacity, max work capacity. So now some posterior reach lunge. Again, I take what my body gives me.
You got a question?
Hang
from
on.
Luke? Yep.
Never when I'm trying.
Yep.
And question?
Yeah, from Luke. Any other cable system not as large as yours that will work as good?
Not that'll work as good, no. You invest in a commercial. You get what you pay for. You can use all kinds of tubing at different heights, which I've done in the past. You see I have high attachments, and I have medium attachments, and I have low attachments. All right, but and see over here as well. But I don't need them anymore because of the functional trainer, so. Last set. Each one of these is about 7.5 to 10 pounds. So I know it's about what I would have been doing with dumbbells anyway. So that helps me approximate my performance, even with the pain. Last set. Up, 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 Oh, I love the way that pulls back as soon as you get to the top, because it's cable. It's already pulling you down. You slow down that eccentric phase and you get maximum fiber recruitment. So now, unloading the knees and hips with anything, TRX, tubing. Next set I'll use something else. Again, every workout, you take what your body gives you, and this should be part of every GPP, no matter what body part you're training. You'll thank your joints by doing this regularly. A lot of people with knee and hip issues over 50 really need to be doing this to start opening up the joints and the tissues surrounding it and getting more freedom, and then you'll get far less referral pain and eventually be able to do a lot more resistance to strengthen the area. So again, not about focusing on limitations, but focusing on how to best work with them, right? So you can't just say, can't do this, can't do this, can't do this, can't do this. Actually, you can if you know a wise way to work around it. So notice how deep I'm getting here. I can get all the way, butt to heels. For some people over 50, their arthritis is in their knees or their hips. For me, it's mostly in my shoulders. So. This out of the way. So now I'm on to second exercise. Now, if you look up osteoarthritis, you'll see one of the ways they say to treat it is never lift anything over your head. So I keep that in mind with my front alternate raises and my side lateral raises, as you're about to see. So, and because I'm changing plane of motion and range of motion, then I start a little bit lighter. Up, up, up. Up. 13. Up. 15. 15. And my biofeedback there told me that my shoulders are really loose now, which I didn't expect. I'm going to do another set of unloading the knees. I'm going to do it with power straps, just so you can see the difference. So whatever you can use, not a big deal. So just pull these out. Same idea. Offset your body weight. Questions or comments?
Oh, all good.
So you see how I'm training with limitations, but I'm still making them work. And you'll see more examples of that as I go along during this workout. Got a nice oxygen debt that's not too severe, but it's just right for maintaining incomplete recovery as I go along. So remember, the first rule of rehab and not making damage worse for osteoarthritis is not to raise anything too far overhead. So I use that as my guide for my shoulder work, which means I can train with limitations, and it doesn't mean because I have limitations that I can't train. So tissues for your issues. Listen up, Buttercup. There's always a way around whatever you think your perceived limitation is. Second set, a little heavier. Up, 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 It's also being about flexible within your training mindset. Initially, I thought I'd have to stay with the same weight for all 4 sets, but because my shoulders opened up, biofeedback, which is something you can't see or measure, now I can surf the curve and go heavier each set of these selectorized dumbbells. Just a little turn of the knob, and I'm heavier. Now between sets, as you've seen in previous workouts, I do some anterior reaches because of my low back issues. This helps proprioception, nervous impulse, innervation. So I start with a step for less range of motion. Start with 2 hands. Nice and slow. The slower you go, the harder it is. And by doing these simple movements, they're not metabolically demanding, so I'm still recovering from my shoulder set. And this engages the lateral system, bouncing side to side, and the deep longitudinal system, which goes from the ball of your foot and your instep all the way up through the hamstrings into the glutes and lower back. So very effective prehab. Beautiful. Remember, proper workouts are meant to be invigorating, not exhausting. Any idiot trainer can pound a willing trainee into the ground. That doesn't prove anything. It's about effectiveness of training and not ego-ness of training. Set number 3. Up. 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 And because my shoulders opened up so much on that first exercise, I'm surprising myself with how heavy I'm able to go on this second exercise. But it's all about biofeedback and not preconceived notions. So now I'll go back to the anterior reach. I'll go contralateral instead of both hands. Again, really, really good prehab work for ladies out there who want to tone and tighten, shape and sculpt your glutes. Make anterior reaches part of your GPP before every workout, and then the work that you do for legs and glutes will be even more effective for that area. Remember, anterior reaches are to be done very slowly. Not the faster you do them, the more counterbalance you get, which isn't what you want. Last set of these, and heavy. Up, up. Wow. That's the strongest I've been on them in a long time. Back to my anterior reach. If you're not getting any oxygen debt on resistance work, especially for larger body parts, there's something wrong. You're not doing something right. People that tell me I rest 15 seconds and do my next set. No, you can't recover in 15 seconds if you're truly overloading a muscle. Now I'll do ipsilateral. And again, if you're over 50, body part work makes the most sense. You train the muscles, not the movement. And if you're over 50, no way you should be doing CrossFit and other things like that with barbell ballistic work, kipping chin-ups. It's all in my book, Physique After 50. And again, it's all about what movements are effective, not what ones are sexy and look difficult to perform and require a biomechanics degree. Simple is effective. I love the anterior reach. Any questions or comments? Next exercise. So training with physical limitations. This is all about physique after 50, folks. Gotta love the selectorized dumbbells where you just make a turn and you got different weights. Takes up very little space and you're good to go. That's a little heavy. Felt that right away. Maybe next set. Some seated side laterals. Lean into it. Up. 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 Oh. And again, for rehab for osteoarthritis, try not to raise too far above the shoulder level, parallel level. So the worse my OA gets, the more I decrease purposefully the range and plane of motion of side lateral. And I use pain as my guide. So I'm still doing the anterior reaches now. It just, I got rid of the elevation step because now I'm warmed up into it. And I'll just go back to reaching for the floor. Nice and slow. And I really have to concentrate on these, believe it or not. So again, I'll go two hands, then contralateral, then ipsilateral. Try them really slow. They're way harder than they look. And because shoulder work isn't all that metabolically commanding and demanding, you can do things like that between sets because you're not using any resistance. Your shoulders still recover. All right, next set. Questions or comments?
All good.
You guys out there?
Yep. They're having coffee with me.
Shrug all your lateral movements mentally. Up, 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 up. Oh, that feels good. Booyah! And now contralateral.
Oh, yep.
Anterior reach. Again, helps with glutes, hams, low back. And my next exercise, still got two sets here. I'll show you another variation I had to create because of my OA, so my osteoarthritis. It just shows there's always ways to work around. So, I'll remind you of that in a second. Hopefully you're learning lots. And again, physique after 50, it's all about tuning in to your body. It's not about especially trying to impress anyone else. And that's the danger for if you're over 50 working in groups, because it's all about monitoring your own body and what it can handle. You don't work through pain, you work around pain. So that's very important stuff. Hang 'em and bang 'em. Up, 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 up. Again, it's not how much you use, it's how you use it. So, very important. And now, ipsilateral, anterior reach. And then next set of anterior reach, I put them all together, which is very advanced and challenging. So I'll do a two-hand, a contralateral and ipsilateral, 2 rounds, switch feet. So as you'll see, that's like 6 sets of anterior reaches in one workout, 7 sets actually. So that goes a long way to proprioception from the bang, from the ground, through the foot, into the hamstring, into the deep part of the glutes. Very effective prehab. Can always be doing something. Last set here. Oh, I almost forgot.
Huh?
That's hang 'em and bang 'em.
Oh my God.
I just do that to make Ange laugh. Up, up. Up, 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 bingo. And then last set of anterior reaches.
Yep.
So like I said, now I'll put all 3 together. That's awesome. Notice also the side laterals, my lever arms out to the side. You see people in the gym doing side laterals like a chicken dance. All right, the feet way spread out too much base of support, too much stability. Coming up like this, no demand because the lever arms being far from the fulcrum point and the base of support. Get very little out of that. The other thing you see people do is dipping at the top of front alternate raises, and it's almost like a modern dance. Also, that's your body trying to absorb it rather than letting your muscle do that. So little tweaks to proper form. Now, shoulder work, one of the other things in general, but for physique after 50 osteoarthritis, I've done general overload of the shoulder joint, both joints. Then I did for the anterior front alternate raises for the front deltoid. Then I did seated side laterals for the medial deltoid. Got to keep that balance, so now I need something for the rear delt. Well, the rear delt tends to be what hurts me the most. So again, I found a way to work around it. Beautiful. I'll go 5. So I found if I go too low range of motion, it hurts my joint. If I go high, it relieves the pain, and I can still do rear delts, but I have to do them single arm at a time. So check it out. Up. Up, 20. See, now that's a very effective rear delt teres group muscle action, even if I didn't have osteoarthritis. So the limitation of my osteoarthritis actually helped me find a new way to hit rear delts, which is extremely effective with or without having limitation issues. So when you think in terms of possibilities, you make discoveries that are good for everybody. You try this one, you'll feel it. So, and I was allowed to, the functional trainer allowed me to experiment with the right range and plane of motion to offset the shoulder pain in the osteoarthritis. So another bonus effect. So, and you can shoot me from behind here since it's a rear delt exercise. So see what I mean, folks? Train with limitations, lots of possibilities. So set number 2, just for you. Up. range of motion on there, folks, by leaning into it and then getting that peak contraction. Wow. And here's the thing. Started the day with really limited range of motion I could feel before I even came down here in my joints. Pain and restriction. Did my GPP, did the first exercise. This is as loose and pain-free as my shoulder joints have felt all week. So isn't that something? I'm actually targeting my shoulder muscles, influencing the shoulder joint, which you think would increase the inflammation and cause more pain, but it's actually reducing my pain, and I'm actually now pain-free, and that'll last several hours. But back to the shoulder workout. Overall shoulder gravitational pull, all right, but not with a barbell or anything that would cause too much strain on the joint. Then I did front anterior delt focus, medial delt focus, now rear delt focus, so it's all balanced, okay? Any questions or comments? It's a quiet bunch. Okay.
Yeah.
Make sure you shoot straight from the back on these.
Yep.
Up, 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 Notice how I change gravitational pull each exercise. The gravitational ground forces and the muscle reactive forces. That's innervation. Up, up, So, next set when I do these, get right over here and shoot from behind.
Yep.
Now, notice also, I've surfed the curve every set because my pain's gone away. I went 20 reps, 15 reps, 12 reps. So I'm actually surfing the curve and pyramiding each set because my shoulders are free enough to do that. And because I've trained front, medial, rear, I'm feeling more and more freedom in the area. So really, really important stuff to understand and get through. So we want to make sure you focus on that element. Not how much you lift, it's how you lift it. So how many of you are going to go out here and try this rear delt exercise? Because you really should, it's awesome. So show me some thumbs up if that rear delt exercise looks like something you'd be interested in. Because you're not gonna witness it in many places. But that's what expertise is. It's discovery. It's not about doing fancy for the sake of fancy. It's about doing effective for the sake of effective. So really important. So last set here, which makes the fourth set. So shoot both sides directly from the rear.
Okay.
I get my base of support, reach in for maximum stretch, pull for intense contraction. Up. Keep that arm as straight as possible so you don't get that bend, because you don't want to bend and then extend, because then you turn it into a tricep exercise. Up. No, from the back, from the back. Up. 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 Boom. Love me some functional trainer. Questions, comments?
Yes, one from Stephen. Do you recommend doing GPP on non-training days or extended breaks to stay limber?
Sorry, read again.
Yeah. Do you recommend doing GPP on non-training days or extended breaks?
No. Non-training days are non-training days. People need to stop that nonsense. If you're on a 5-day program, a real one, then it's a 5-day program for a reason, which means those 2 days of recovery are written into the consideration of the program, at least if it's one of my programs. If you're on a 4-day program, those 3 days of recovery are written into the program, at least on one of my programs. So enough of this, do an hour in the morning, an hour in the afternoon of cardio on your off days. No, then it's not an off day, is it? So remember, honor the program. If it's a 6-day program, honor that. If it's a 5-day program, honor that. Now that's assuming the programs are written according to the principles of exercise physiology, and you can throw that out the window with the modern social media nonsense that's out there. But if it's one of my programs, check out my course, Program Design Masterclass, and you'll see what's involved there. Effort, work capacity, or training strategy, work capacity, recovery capacity, internal biochemical hormonal environment. Those are the elements of the training model that go into effective program design. So now, again, I had to change up what I planned for today because of how stiff my shoulders were and how bad my osteoarthritis was in the morning. I initially planned to start with seated dumbbell press. Instead, I did the functional press. What a smart decision, because that freed up my joints almost immediately. So because of that, I would usually finish this particular workout with the one-arm functional press, but I've already done it. So range and plane of motion. What I want to do now is just another simple variation. So I got to do my rotator cuff as well for my joint health, for protective, and you've seen that in the previous workouts. So what I'm going to do is single arm upright row, superset with external rotations. So I'll start nice and light. Left hand. Hang 'em and bang 'em. External rotation, rotator cuff, I really shake my head these days, folks, when people think you need to complicate an exercise and confuse that with being effective. They're doing holding a dumbbell combined with a exercise tubing, combined with standing on a BOSU and blah, 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 just to make it look sexy. The bottom line is it effective? So stop the nonsense. It's the unglamorous stuff that works. Up. And I'll go over some stuff with you in a second. Elbows in. And because I'm doing one side at a time superset, that's been enough rest for the left side. I don't even have to rest. Up, 50. Up. Up. If you're over 50, rotator cuff work should be part of your prehab, rehab, either GPP or post-workout. About 5 years ago, it's what I started doing instead of ab work. So, saved me from shoulder replacement surgery. Questions or comments?
No, all good.
Hopefully you guys are learning something. And then I want to go over what you just saw. And again, not trying to impress you with my physique at age 56. Trying to impress upon you what expertise is and how you can use it to full advantage. So that's important stuff to pass along. And the biofeedback on how I adopted, even within the workout, to the pain in my shoulders from the osteoarthritis, while keeping in mind the limitations in my low back from having no discs in my lower back. 2 more sets. Oh, that feels heavy. Up, up, Wow, I'm feeling my oats. Up, 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 oh. Once again, that literal meaning of hanging and banging. So what have you seen here? You've seen single arm cable shoulder press, functional trainer, 6 sets, 4 sets, front alternate raise, 4 sets, seated side lateral, that's 14 sets, 4 sets, overhead single arm, cable rear delt, that's 18 sets, 4 sets, 1 arm, dumbbell upright row, boom, 22 sets for a 56-year-old old fart. So that's how you can divide it up. Now rep-wise, I did around 30 to 40 reps first exercise, 40 reps second exercise, that's 80 reps. And then I did 4 sets of 12 for seated side laterals, and that's another 48 reps. So you can see the repetition-wise, about 150, 160 reps for a workout. And you see all 5 exercises mixed up but married the range and plane of motion of muscle function for the shoulders. So we did overall vertical strain, gravitational pull, we did front, we did side, we did rear, and then we execute more medial and rear with a vertical gravitational pull rather than the previous, which was horizontal. So there's always a reason to be doing something. Up, up. There should always be a reason why one exercise comes after another one. Always. It shouldn't just be arbitrary personal trainer, gym floor mythology nonsense. Last set. Up. Up. Boom. All right, so before I call it a day, let's talk a little bit about pacing. So 22 sets-ish, over 150, 160 reps-ish, and all my yakking in between sets to explain things to you, address your comments, and if you just look at the clock, there.
Yeah.
So, come back to me now. Even with all of that, 22 sets of shoulder work with recovery between sets in just under an hour. So there's no reason people should be taking 90 minutes or whatever to do a workout of 20 sets. It doesn't make sense. So depending on the actual structure of a body part workout, should always be in and around an hour, give or take. And that was with GPP. All right, so if you want to stretch after or do abs, yes, you can add to that, but the nuts and bolts and guts of your training when you're doing physique enhancement, physique development training should always be around the 1 hour mark. And again, that's because of the training model. Effort, training strategy, work capacity, recovery capacity, internal biochemical and hormonal environment, which goes into how you structure a training program. So your conditioning level should be such that it doesn't require much more than that. If it does, then there's something wrong. You're recovering too much between sets, or you're making some kind of mistake. So that's really important as well. And on top of that, let me just say, any training that is under 90 minutes means you can completely disregard all this pre-workout, peri-workout, and post-workout nutrition nonsense. That research only applies to endurance training athletes who are training longer than 90 minutes. So forget all that stuff with your rainbow colored water and your magic amino acid formulas and all the rest of the nonsense. It doesn't speak to the actual issue at hand. And unless you're working at max work capacity all the time like a professional athlete would be doing, then those things don't apply to you. That research is just used to sell you stuff you don't need. So again, a bunch of industry nonsense. So questions, comments, complaints?
Oh, Kathy's got a long question, but I'll get you to read that later because it's cut off. But
okay.
Stephen says, assuming internal rotation tomorrow, with a question mark.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, 1 week I'll do, because I'm training 5 days a week. Good question, Steve. So 1 week at the end, 3 external rotations, 2 internal rotations. The following week, 3 internal rotations, 2 external rotations. All about balance. Now, some people will do scarecrows, some people do them. Now, one thing I will tell you, if we're going to focus on rotator cuff, is I see people in the gym trying to do them with dumbbells. Don't do that. Mm-hmm. The gravitational pull is different with cable machines. It's more even. When you put a dumbbell and hold it horizontally, you're already inviting joint strain. You're trying to get rid of joint strain, not add to it. So a lot of the people with these functional issues, they grab a dumbbell, or even worse, a weight plate, and they're swinging it to and fro ow, don't do that. Do it with cables so you can get even gravitational concentric and eccentric forces. And with rotator cuff, mild, not severe. It's not about training to failure with rotator cuff. It's about range of motion with resistance, just to keep it healthy and robust, because that's a real precarious muscle you don't want to risk tearing. But also something people should start doing when they're younger, because you know, I discovered it way too late. I wish I was doing this in my 30s, but it also speaks to the younger generation who do way too much barbell work. Way too much barbell squat with heavy weights in that position of holding the barbell behind your head, direct strain on the AC joint. You combine that with barbell bench press, direct strain on the shoulder joint, and then seated military press with a barbell behind your head, sometimes even more invitational stress to the shoulder joint. And it's no wonder 5 or 10 years later you have shoulder issues like the kind I have. So minimize the barbell work, maximize the dumbbell work and the cable work. So this has been session 4 of 5 for training with physical limitations, training around injuries. Focus on what's possible rather than focusing on the limitations. Work around a limitation, not through it, and you'll be able to keep hanging and banging well into old age like this old fart. So hopefully you learned something. Any other questions, comments, complaints?
Oh, Jennifer, super excited to try this workout this morning. Thank you for sharing your expertise.
Awesome. So, and I post this later on the Facebook, and then it goes to my YouTube channel playlist as well. I have a whole playlist for Physique After 50. You can tune in there. I have a whole playlist for best exercises for women, and a whole playlist for my live webinars like this. Yada, yada, yada. Goes back like 10 years. So there's lots of me babbling on.
And I'll get you to answer Kathy's question.
And Kathy, okay, I apparently got a long question. I will address it after I shower and stink better. And we'll get to that as well. So tomorrow will be arm day. And I'll show you a couple of other funky permutations of how to integrate GPP for lower body with arm work, and how to physical rehearsal biceps and triceps together the way I'm doing it on this particular protocol. So is there anything else?
No, all good.
Hopefully you all enjoyed it. If you did, throw me some emoticons. Let me know you're out there. And then again, like I said, this isn't about impressing anyone with my physique. It's about impressing upon you possibilities in training, especially for our fellow Physique After 50 folks like me. Be a member of the Platinum Club. Forget about golden years. Become a Platinum member. Platinum membership where you're still hanging and banging and still looking halfway decent, but train for how training makes you feel and less for how it makes you look after age 50. Like I said, training by how it makes me feel with advanced osteoarthritis and low back issues, I'm able to feel my way through it to feel better, and the result of that is I look pretty damn okay from the neck down for a 57-year-old man. The neck up, well, that would require a whole team of plastic surgeons, and I just can't afford it. So I'll see you all tomorrow for arm day. We'll be hanging, we'll be banging. Shout out, thanks for being there. If you weren't there, wouldn't make much sense for me to be here.
Thank you.